Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you here for this very exciting opportunity and conversation and session today with Allison Sims, a lead customer service success manager at LinkedIn. We have been planning this, as many of you know, for quite some time, and we are thrilled that we have the opportunity to welcome LinkedIn at sort of wrapping up our career series this month. I know that many of you have been here for our career series throughout the month, and we're just really excited and pumped to culminate the month with LinkedIn. And, you know, Allison, so that you know, we've had multiple discussions about LinkedIn best practices and sort of just preparing ourselves for this discussion that you're bringing to Fiveable today. So thank you so much. I will keep an eye on the chat. If you do have questions, just know that I will make sure that I note them down and they will get answered. So we will keep up with it as best we can. So please do bring your questions to the chat and we'll make sure that they get answered. But for now, I guess I will turn it over to you, Allison. Thanks for being here.
Excellent. Thanks so much for the introduction and thanks for having me. And I know that we just talked about recording it. I don't know if you clicked record, but just a quick reminder if you have not clicked that yet.
Thanks so much.
No problem. Well, again, I appreciate the warm welcome. I appreciate the time to be spending with all of you. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate everyone spending an hour with me today, especially at the end of the week. I know sometimes that can, be a little bit of a rough time, 3 o'clock on a Friday. So I do appreciate everyone taking the time to spend that with me and looking forward to going through a lot of the details that we will today. So just a brief introduction of myself. My name is Allison Sims, as Jacob mentioned. I have worked with LinkedIn now for almost 3.5 years. And prior to my time at LinkedIn, I actually worked as a recruiter for most of my career. So I spent most of my career actually working in a staffing firm for about almost 9 years as a recruiter, managed a team of recruiters, and then actually moved into an internal talent acquisition role within financial services, where I spent about 3.5 years there. So with my experience from recruiting and talent acquisition, I was able to get the position at LinkedIn. It was a great step in my career to be able to take my expertise within the recruiting arena and utilize it with the LinkedIn products. So throughout my entire career, I had used our LinkedIn Recruiter product, which is part of our Talent Solution Suite. And so I was very familiar with the product and loved working with it. It was one of my biggest resources during my recruiting days. So now my actual role is to work with our global search and staffing firms. So my clients are some of the largest largest staffing firms out there. So if you're familiar with those are like Kelly Services, Manpower Group, et cetera. Those are the companies that I work with to ensure that their recruiters have everything that they need to be successful. So today what we're going to do, and like Jacob said, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them over in the chat, but you can also unmute as well. And I am totally fine if anyone interrupts me at any point. So if you have something that you want to say, I'm totally fine with you interrupting me. I want you to all get as much information as you can out of this session, and I want it to be extremely valuable for you. So any sort of interaction is fantastic. So with that, let's get started. Today, what we're going to go through is a little kind of background on getting to know LinkedIn. Then what we'll do is dive into how to get noticed. So what's important with your LinkedIn profile, what's important to spend your time on and focus on to ensure that you've built out that profile to the best that it can be. And then we'll go into some details about launching your career, what's important and how to network and utilize the community with LinkedIn. And then also, again, kind of going to that next step of launching your career, how to learn those new skills, et cetera. Before we do get started, I want, if anyone could put in the chat panel how comfortable they are with LinkedIn, how much experience they have used with LinkedIn. We'll say like none, some, an expert level, so to speak. But would love to just kind of get a glimpse over the audience of what everyone is familiar with. Some experience. Great. Excellent. Okay. Great. So it looks like we've got people that, are familiar with it, with when I think of the audience, obviously being kind of at that student level, I would expect obviously people to either have none at all or just kind of be familiar with it, have heard of it, things like that. So I love that everyone is kind of on the same page with that, and hopefully you can come out of it and feel that you can say that you've got, you know, a good enough amount of experience to make it dangerous on it. So we'll go from there. So in looking at the overall vision of LinkedIn and the company of LinkedIn. So we define vision as our true north. So it's our dream as a company. It's what drives us every day at LinkedIn. It's what's been created kind of within the overall company of LinkedIn. So our vision within LinkedIn is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So when LinkedIn first started and was developed, it became a platform for people to connect, to network, et cetera. And as it's evolved and just the overall vision that's come about, it truly is that, again, that true north to economic opportunity, no matter what level in your career you are. So whether you're a student, whether you're, you know, almost at retirement age and everywhere in between, and with all different types of positions, the overall goal is to create that economic opportunity for every member. And so then when you take kind of that one step further of our specific mission and how we get to that, I don't know how that turned out there. I don't know if you guys can see that. So sorry, I don't know how that's showing up there. So I apologize. Connecting our world's professionals to make them more productive. I think it's coming up if somebody has their like annotation on. I don't know how to clear it. Clear. Oh, sorry. There we go. So sorry about that. And it's connecting our world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. So our mission is defined as the overarching objective. So it's something that you can measure, and it's something that's inspirational, but basically is how do we connect the world, or how do we create that economic opportunity by connecting the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. As you're all probably very familiar with and aware of, the world of work is constantly changing. And I would say over, you know, the past year especially, the way people work, the way the world works, and just overall the way technology changes, the way the marketplace changes, the way that just the overall everything changes. You as students are facing a complex, fragmented workforce in many ways. So there's obviously a high amount of competition out there. So students and recruiters face the most competitive job market in history currently now. There's new skills emerging every day. You know, I hear different types of information and data points and stating that, you know, people that are, you know, elementary age at this point, the jobs that they will have not even been created yet. So if you think about it from that standpoint, you know, skills are evolving, technology is changing, and with that disruption of technology, entire industries and the traditional career path continues to evolve and change as well. And so with that, we bring it into LinkedIn and how that can help support your overall career journey and get you to where you want to be and need to be within your career. So first and foremost, I can imagine as students that you're very familiar with several different social channels out there and different social platforms that are out there. So you get anything from, you know, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, everything out there in social channels that can kind of bring a lot of noise, obviously, into play into your day-to-day. And so how LinkedIn is different from other social channels, and just to kind of clarify and specifically tell you how to utilize LinkedIn, other social networks are truly for your personal life. So when you think about sharing pictures with your friends and vacations that you've gone on and just everything that, you know, your family, things that really make up your entire personal life, that's going to be your other social platforms. When you think about LinkedIn, think about how it's truly for your professional life. And with that, you might think of yourself as a student thinking, well, I don't have a professional life yet. You know, I'm still a student. I still have several years in high school and college and whatever the case may be from here. And so how does that impact me? But the best part about that is you can be part of the platform and be part of the network and help jumpstart building your brand, networking with the right people, so that you set yourself up for success for long-term for your long-term goals. So essentially viewing LinkedIn as a platform on where you can do that is extremely important. And it's important in putting your right foot forward and setting up your profile and the work that you do within LinkedIn to have that overall, professional image within this platform. So again, it's not just being on LinkedIn, it's truly using it in a strategic manner. So again, a lot of you might have at a certain stage now, it's truly building your brand. It's getting yourself out there and having a platform and having a virtual resume, so to speak, with what you've accomplished, what you're capable of accomplishing, things that make you stand out and make you unique. So whether it's finding internships or summer jobs, or truly, again, just having that presence there, it all comes into play, and it's all extremely important, even at your stage in your career or your education. It gives you the ability to network people, professors, teachers, mentors, managers at prior jobs, things like that. It gives you that ability to do so. That will then in turn, again, get you hired and get you that job that you're looking for in the future. From a specific student standpoint, so what can LinkedIn do for you? Again, it allows you to connect with the professional world at an early time, right? It gives you that jump start to get ahead of the game, to be on top, be those top performers. Start now. Staying informed, so it allows you to stay informed through industry news, professional news, just overall media out there. Keeps you informed of what's going on in different industries. It can also help you, guide you into what type of career you're looking for. So if you're somebody that maybe you're not exactly sure what you want to do when you grow up, so to speak, this allows you to give you that opportunity to learn a little bit more about different careers that are out there, different industries that are out there, what's happening in different industries that are out there, and what's exciting to you. So that can help you, again, give you those stepping stones for the future. So I want to pause for a second just to see if to catch up on some questions before we move on. I know that there's quite a few that's come through a little bit. Some of the questions that I saw early on were about what's a good profile and things like that. I will get to that in a moment, so we'll definitely go through that. Jacob, are there any questions that have come through that I can answer at this point?
Sure. Thanks, Allison. I know that Jonah, you wanted to unmute yourself and chime in with a question. Did you want to jump in now?
Oh, sorry. That was just me asking if I could unmute later on.
Oh, sure. No problem.
I appreciate that, though. Thank you.
Sure. No problem. We did have a question come in from Aisha. Do you think it's good to have a LinkedIn as a junior in high school? I started mine recently in the fall of last year, but I haven't done much to it.
Absolutely. So I believe the age limit, or the minimum age, is 16. So at that point, I absolutely encourage anybody that's at that age, minimum age, to absolutely create a LinkedIn profile. And I'll go through just the steps to start building it out. Again, one thing I want to kind of reiterate through the presentation today is don't get overwhelmed by some of the stuff that's out there, in the sense of comparing yourself to other profiles that you're seeing and people that are much further along in their careers at this point, keeping in mind you're a student, and we would expect your experience and just overall, content within your profile to be at that student level. But absolutely, I encourage anybody to get on the platform and create a profile.
Excellent. Maybe we can do one more question. And I was anticipating this question being asked, Allison, so please feel free to be honest in your answer. Elisa had asked, would it be good to share our own LinkedIn, or I guess your own LinkedIn, at the end of the presentation?
My own LinkedIn?
I think that's what Elisa is referencing. Elisa, if I'm misunderstanding, please let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to share my, yep. Oh, like each other's, yeah. So to share each other's, absolutely. I would recommend maybe even after the session, maybe not immediately following, but partner up with each other and be able to, go through based off of what you've learned from the session, and give each other feedback, critique each other, and say, hey, you might want to fix this up. It's always good to get a second set of eyes on your profile. So I will definitely share my profile when I'm done through the presentation portion. but absolutely, I would recommend partnering up with each other.
I think we're good thus far. If you want, and then we can have another pause and I can bring up more.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. Perfect. So what I wanted to obviously recognize and understand as especially as students, your to-do list is or can feel extremely overwhelming, right? It's kind of get good grades, join clubs, get involved, have fun, sleep, et cetera, choose a career, research companies. And as it kind of piles up, it does feel overwhelming, or it does feel like, where do I even start? And I think that that is truly half the battle in understanding, where do I start? How do I start putting some information out there without, putting the wrong information or not enough information or things like that. And so, again, what I wanted to kind of clarify with this and make sure that you all feel comfortable with is, it truly is just kind of that jumping off point of getting started. And hopefully today with some of this information, I'll be able to showcase and share exactly what and where would make sense to get started. Okay, so how does LinkedIn create value for you? Obviously, I've gone through kind of some of the reasons of, what LinkedIn is and what we look to do as a company. But for you specifically, why would you want to join the platform and why would you want to get involved? So a couple things. Again, our overarching value proposition of connecting to opportunity. You can view opportunity in so many different ways, and that's how we view opportunity as well. So again, building your brand opportunity, getting a job opportunity, building a professional identity opportunity, learning a skill opportunity. So again, you can see how that kind of comes into play there. To show you just the overall size of LinkedIn and just the overall network and the platform and what you have access to, what I want to go over is the economic graph. So what this is basically showcasing what makes up this entire network, what makes up this entire platform, so to speak. So we've got over 722 million members on our platform, 55 million companies, 14 million jobs listed, 36,000 skills, 115,000 schools, and 358 billion pieces of knowledge or updates within our feed. So you can see how powerful the data is behind this network. And obviously these are continuously growing every second. So we still are growing at a rate of one new member every 2 seconds. And so you can see how that continuously evolves and becomes again, a powerful tool for you. So now let's get to the good stuff. How to get noticed on LinkedIn and how you can create your profile to in turn create your story. First and foremost is adding a photo. So profiles with a photo get 21 times more profile views than those that don't. A couple things I want to call out with your profile photo. It's really important that you have a photo of yourself, just by yourself, rather than having family members, friends, etc. Make sure you do have just a single photo of yourself as shown here. From shoulders up is ideal, so you get a good sense of the person's or of your face. A neutral background and professional clothing. So what does that mean exactly? Not a lot of distractions behind you. If you can get something that's fairly neutral in the background or kind of something that's blurred or muted in the background, that's ideal. Also with professional clothing, it does not mean you have to wear a suit. It just means something that is appropriate, that doesn't have, different words on it, things like that. Just something that is somewhat neutral and professional. This is not saying you need a professional headshot. It's truly taking a photo that you feel good and confident about yourself, that shows who you are. I would say that something like this is more important than ever these days. And the reason being is we live in a very virtual world right now. Who knows how long that will continue. And so with your first impression for certain things, that would be a photo. And it gives somebody a chance to humanize you a little bit more, if that makes sense, rather than just kind of a blank slate of something. You get to know someone, you kind of get a better feel of them by viewing their photo. So again, that's first and foremost, is make sure you do have a photo. Add your education. So while I do understand that if it's not in college or not in college yet, you may not have that education at that level, but you still have the capabilities to add a high school education on there. But it is important to add, again, the education that you are working towards, as well as any sort of academic or academic awards, honors, activities, leadership positions, clubs, etc. Again, keeping in mind at the, let's say, high school level or even college level, your activities and your leadership experience, it's expected to be different than somebody that's been in the workforce for 5+ years. So kind of think about some of the things that you've done within your high school career, things that are important to you, that really stand out and set you above the rest, or things that you've been very much involved with. So even if it's something where you've been a part of a club that's been important to you, put that on there. It's not only showing what experience you have and what you've done, it also gives you, again, it personalizes it a bit more. It shows who you are, what's important to you, what do you like to get involved with? Because ultimately when companies are hiring, if you look at the long-term goal, they want to hire that person, right? And what makes up a person is much more than just what they did in their last 4 jobs. There's a lot that gets made up into that. And so keeping that in mind, again, I would always recommend, and with everything that I say here, look at it with a professional lens. And when I say a professional lens, think about kind of, if you can put yourself in, if I was going for a job interview, would I want that person to see that? No matter what job it was. If I was looking to be hired as a president of a company, would I want that to be on my profile? So always kind of think about that, again, with the professional lens, but don't bring it too harshly in where you discount things that you've done. Again, expectation based off of where you're at in your career or your education and as a student, I want to make sure that you feel comfortable putting things that really build out who you are. Adding work experience. So step 3, this is where you're building out what we kind of view as like your online resume, the virtual resume of the actual work experience. And this is going to be what a traditional, we'll say, resume kind of has been in the past. So profiles with work experience get 10 times more likely to get messaged. And so therefore, again, anything like internships, summer jobs, part-time jobs, if you do have examples of your work in photos or things like that, this is where you have the opportunity to add that also. And in this, kind of where you're adding your work experience, we recommend to describe what you accomplished. Again, I know many of you may not have even had summer jobs or internships or part-time jobs at this point, and that's fine too. If you don't have that, totally fine. But again, as you build it out, these are the types of things that you're going to want to add. And even if it's something that you've worked in, fast food or retail or something like that as a summer job, put it. It's still something that's meaningful work. It's still something that you've done and accomplished. And there is stuff that you can pull out of that. We've all had, early jobs. I worked at a movie theater. I worked in retail. I've worked at a restaurant. Like, we've all had those types of positions, or many of us have. So make sure you're putting those in as well. As your career advances and your experience evolves, eventually as time goes on, you'll probably start removing some of those early jobs. But again, it is very beneficial to have those on there at this point. And adding volunteer experience. This is one of my favorite sections because, again, I think this is where it really personalizes who you are. I think that most people volunteer at places or have volunteer experience that is something that might be near and dear to their heart, or might be something that's really important to them. And so I think that this is where conversations a lot of times get started based off of volunteer work that you've done. This is where, again, kind of the personalization and the ability to showcase who you are as a person comes out. And so I encourage you, if you are doing volunteer work in any capacity, I do recommend to put that on there and to keep that on there as you're active within that volunteer work, or again, like as an end date if it's something that you've done in the past. So again, this is also where you're able to put in different accomplishments that you might have gotten with this, or accolades or awards, things like that. And this also gives you the kind of the next step of the ability to then join relevant groups on LinkedIn. So I'll go into detail about the groups on LinkedIn in a couple minutes so that you can see that as well. But here you can see just an additional screenshot of the accomplishments. This is just where it kind of comes at your bottom of your profile of courses you take, honors, and awards, interests that you have, joining groups, things like that. Again, all of this is building out to make your personal and professional brand out there on the LinkedIn platform. Adding your skills and getting endorsed. So basically on the profile, if you're not familiar with it, you do have the option to add skills and people can endorse you with those skills. So endorsements mean that it's somebody saying, a colleague or somebody that knows you well, has worked with you, can endorse you. And an endorsement basically is kind of saying like, yes, I know that that person knows how to do that. I think that they've done a great job, et cetera, and so forth. You'll notice the numbers on here. So for example, skills and endorsements, you've got leadership, public speaking, and journalism. The number here is how many endorsements they have with that. Something I want to mention is that you are able to pin your top 3 endorsement or top 3 skills that you want on your profile, which I'll show you during a quick demo, so that you can kind of brand yourself in a way that you want to be looked at. So for example, if you don't do that and everyone endorses you for a certain skill that you've put on there, but really you don't want to be known as somebody that knows, I'll use myself as an example. At one point, when I was in recruiting, somehow I did do payroll within our company at times, but somehow for some reason that one continuously kept getting endorsed. And I'll be honest, I'm not an expert in payroll. I did it a couple times. I didn't want that to show up as that was what my expertise is. So you can repin it and reprioritize so that it's not just your top 3 that have been endorsed. It's truly what you want to showcase that you know. And then lastly, drafting a summary. So the summary is at the top. So you'll notice here with the snapshot here, you've got the person's name, Jamie Linton. You've got some details about her. So this is the headline here. Brand manager at the Daily Alumni, incoming customer experience, intern at PetSmart, LinkedIn campus editor. You can do a variety of things here. So the headline is here, and I'll showcase that again with the demo in a few minutes. Your summary is right here. The summary is extremely important to introduce yourself. We like to look at it as your elevator pitch. Focus on your accomplishments, your aspirations, but keep it short. If somebody were to ask you, like, tell me about yourself, what are the things that you say that you want to be remembered and known by? You can change this as time goes on, and especially for all of you in your current stage in life, I recommend changing it and evolving it as time goes on. Even as early as like you could create one now. By the end of this coming summer, you probably have a new summary that you want to add for any experience you might have gained over the summer, over the past next 6 months. You can always change and update it. But as you can see, it's kind of a friendly welcome to your page, let's say, your profile. It's a great way to just give a little bit of insight of who you are. And again, it's truly that elevator pitch. If somebody said, tell me about yourself, what would you say in a couple sentences? Let me pause again for a moment. Any questions coming in so far?
Yeah. This is great, Allison. Thank you. Based on, I guess, a theme in some of the questions is how much is too much, because a lot of what we've been talking about this week in Discord, for those of you who are on this call that were participating in those discussions, a lot of the conversation was centered around there are so many different sections of a profile, but how much is too much information, and what do you recommend is just enough versus not enough? So can you talk a little bit about content volume, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's not going to be a one size fits all, right? I can't necessarily say like, don't add this much, add this much. What I would recommend is keeping in mind your years of experience as somebody that is potentially entering the workforce within the next couple of years, if that makes sense. So chances are you wouldn't have it, every section is not going to be built out at capacity. If you feel that you have to like really stretch and think about something to put it on there, I'm not saying that it's too much, but if it doesn't kind of come top of mind of things that you've accomplished, things you've done, things you're involved with, it may not be worth putting on there. If you can't talk about it, you probably don't want to put it on there. If you volunteered for one day at a food pantry 3 years ago, you could put it on there. I'm not saying that you wouldn't, but you may not want to put it on there. There's not a lot you could probably say about it. It might've been 2 hours of your time. If that's the only volunteer work you've ever done and you really want to kind of start building that out, by all means put it. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, I think it's more so thinking about what you've done. And again, if you have to really kind of stretch and think very hard about it and really pull from like years past, probably don't want to add that. My thought is, as you start building out, most likely you won't have too much out there at this point. And I think that that's fair. I think that if you look at yours and it might look a little stark at this point, I think that that is exactly where it should be. Because again, it's not comparing it to people that have been in the workforce for a really long time. So you want to make sure and think of it that way. Also, if you've had, 10 jobs at this point, random part-time jobs here and there, pick out your top 3 that you really feel you made an impact in. So if you've worked at, again, a variety of stores, retail places, things like that, if you have any that have been in a professional setting, I'd probably pull that one out first, as long as it was a good experience. If you have anything that ties to the direction you want to go in your career, or you did something that's a big deal that you want to make sure that you can talk about, again, put that in there, and then maybe pull out one that might have been your favorite. So anything that you put on your profile, make sure that you're able to speak to if someone were to ask you a question about it. So I hope that answers it. And when I go through my profile, I hope that then it'll give you a little bit of a better sense of kind of where you could, like how much information you can put there. I noticed one come through that's just at my screen right now. I'm part of orchestra and tennis. Is that something I would add? Absolutely. Definitely. I would definitely add things like that. So yeah, absolutely.
And back to what you had said about the skills and endorsing folks, Samantha had asked a question about, for those skills, do we as users of our profile write those skills in, or do we wait for someone to come in and endorse us for it?
That's a great question. Both. So the answer would be both. My recommendation would put skills, you would put skills that to start off. So you have up to 50 that you can put in there. There are, I think we have over 50,000, if not more, and growing to choose from, and you can put up to 50. So my recommendation would be to put, you don't have to put all 50 right now, but you could put as many as you would like to start, and again, pin the ones that you want to see, and then others can endorse you for it after you've had that, or people can, I think, suggest skills to have on your background as well. But yeah, I would recommend first by starting being proactive and putting your own skills out there. You know yourself best, obviously, of what you are capable of doing.
Yeah. And I guess I can ask one more for now. Spandon has asked something about creating your image on LinkedIn. And Spandon has said, at what point do we start to create more of a focused image rather than creating a profile to boost our credibility as new individuals in the professional world?
So it's a great question. Again, I don't know if it's going to be a one-size-fits-all answer. I think ultimately now would be the point now that you're starting to kind of focus in on, for some of you, might be kind of focusing in to have that specific, what's the right way, as you're saying, like how to create that focused image and kind of create that brand for yourself that aligns with what you're looking to do. I think that you could start that now. But I think for others, that might not really be that point in their life or their career or their education to know exactly kind of what direction they want to go. And it's truly just a kind of snapshot of who they are without a ton of focus on it. I think that that's fine too. And I think that that's where I would expect a lot of you to be at as well, is truly putting yourself out there in terms of things that you've done. Like I think back to myself, and the reason I give examples is sometimes it's good to kind of relate back to those real life situations. And if I put myself in some of your shoes and think back at 18, where I was, I had worked in, like I said, a couple retail stores. I had done some volunteer work. I was in some, I was on the dance team. I was in cheerleading, like things like that. I don't have those on my profile now, nor does that now really get a full glimpse of who I am. But as time has gone on, it's evolved. Then I moved into a sales role. So I had, the sales position on there. When I wanted to move from a sales career into a recruiting career, to be honest, that sales job became less important of my focus. And what you'll see from my profile as well, I have it listed there to show, one, it's to show a gap in an employment, to show that after college, I did get a job right away. But to be honest, I don't put a lot of information there because it's not something that, one, it's a lot. That's a very long time ago at this point. But two, it's not where I wanted to take my career in that direction. My focus was more on the recruiting portion, the talent acquisition, just overall talent experience. That's where I'm sort of kind of putting my overall professional brand. So it's going to be different for everybody on when you really want to put that focus into place. My recommendation is this early on, be careful about kind of pigeonholing yourself into one specific focus area, unless you know exactly like what you're looking to do long-term in life. Kind of keep it so that you have that ability to move it potentially in different directions. So you're not always viewed as a certain background or certain profile.
Yeah, and Allison, I lied. I'm gonna squeeze in one more question.
Yeah,
Just given
totally fine.
The audience of students we have here are, and as you know, Fiveable is all about AP exams and sort of taking AP courses. And a lot of the questions that have come in this week and in the chat here today are around listing AP courses under the courses section, and how you feel about sort of being specific as to what courses, whether they were AP or not.
Yeah, you know, and I meant to look exactly if you can add that. And I will look actually as we go through the demo to see. I don't know if the capabilities are there. If they are there, and especially if you get college credit, like if you take the AP exam, pass it enough to get the college credit and such like that, how you can, put that in there. I would recommend for sure putting that in. I'll look when we go into the demo to see how you can showcase that. I think it's definitely relevant if the opportunity is there to put that. If it's not, so if we don't have in where it says like courses or interest or just special type information where you can typically kind of add some things in there, if it's not there, what I would recommend is also putting it in. You could potentially somehow kind of add it into your summary. So something as currently taking AP Chem, whatever the courses that you're taking, you could put that in there as well. Again, the audience for you, your student, you want people to kind of recognize that work that you're doing. So again, I would add it into potentially the summary section because that is something that would stand out. And then again, recommendation is as you evolve and like move into college, that first year in college, you're probably going to pull that off because it may not be as relevant at that point anymore.
Awesome.
All right, so I'm going to continue on just for the sake of time currently, if that's okay, Jacob. But then again, if more questions come in, what I'll also let you all know is if questions come in post-session, like if we're up at time and people still have questions, Jacob, just send them through to me after, and I can get them out to you early next week, the answers to the questions to then be sent through. All right, so it's a couple additional tips and tricks to stand out. I don't know if anybody is aware of this. You may not be, but you do have the capability and ability to show that you are open to work. So if you are somebody that is looking for a job or an internship, you have the ability to show that you're open to work within your profile. So basically, in terms of job preferences, you can put exactly what you're looking to do, and you have the ability, you can see here, to put internship. So if you are seeking out an internship, you can put that in. Flexible, I'm looking, I'm available to start immediately. And what happens then, as you can see in this very small window here, but you get a green kind of image around your face or around your picture that shows that you're looking for a job and that shows that you're seeking out employment. If you are looking for a summer job, especially if you're looking for something, actually I would say if you're looking for a summer job of any type, yes, you can do that. You may not find as much success in something that's more so of, again, just like a standard part-time job, but if you've got something within, certain companies absolutely hire students. So yes, I would recommend putting that in as well. If you have and I just did see one question come in about connecting with people you don't know. I would recommend at this point connecting with people only that you do know. If you know them through somebody, I think that that's okay. I would not connect with people that you completely do not know, unless, and I will caveat with, if it's something that you maybe have started following a company. So I'll give it an example. You start following LinkedIn, you start liking LinkedIn posts, and from the company page, you're joining like a LinkedIn group, and I'm using LinkedIn as an example as a company, and then myself or somebody else who you may not know at all connects with you. my recommendation is you could probably connect with that person. It's possible that they want to message you or kind of find out your expressed interest. But again, I think that just if it's somebody that blindly reaches out, I think that it's important to be careful on how you build out your network. People get, I think, excited as people start like requesting connections, and you're like, I'll connect to this person and this person, this person. You want to curate your network in a way that is beneficial for both of you. So on the flip side, and I'll also go over this, I recommend to not connect with anybody and everybody yourself. It is a little bit off-putting if you just send blind connection requests to people that you don't know. So I'll also say, especially at certain levels of seniority within companies. So just because you might be very excited about an internship that's available that you see posted for a certain company, it is poor etiquette to then connect with leadership at that company right off the bat. So I would recommend being careful about who you're just blindly connecting with. It's okay if you know somebody at maybe someone that knows somebody or a second degree connection or possibly a recruiter at that company, sending them a message and saying, hey, I saw this posted, I'm really interested in the job. Those are definitely okay, supported, and something that we would encourage. But again, I recommend not going to like high level executives or even just higher level kind of very experienced people within the company and blindly sending them a connection request. Again, it just can be a poor experience. Going into some of the content as well, like I said, you can bring a story to life by pinning rich media content that you're proud of to your feature section. So if you've done something, a big project, especially with an internship or something like that, you have the ability to put it as long as it's appropriate and approved by potentially the company that you did it for. You can put that information out there. So if you do have an internship and let's say you had a big summer project that you worked on, as long as you have permission from that company and it's not any confidential information or anything like that, you can put some details of that project out on your profile and it showcases your work right there. You can also request a recommendation. So recommendations really help build that credibility and validate your skills. You can also give recommendations to other colleagues and managers, et cetera. So if you have an internship or you have a job and you've got a former manager, you can always send them a message to state, can you send me or can you post a recommendation for me? Best practice for that can be as well, you can state, so let's say if you're reaching out to a former manager or after an internship this summer, let's say you want them to create a recommendation for you, you can always, ghostwrite it. So you can say like, here, would you like me to put it together for you? And then basically you put kind of what you would want to be on your profile and put some of the things that you accomplished. So you can kind of write that first pass and have them edit it. And so they have something to work with. It saves them time and it kind of also helps them along. And you're more likely to get that, yes, I'll put that forward for you. So that's a tip to keep in mind for future always if you're looking for recommendations, is saying like, I can put something together for you if you want to take a look at it, if that makes more sense. And people are typically okay with doing that and appreciative of that work. And then also don't forget about making sure that you've got your location if you want to post any sort of publications, and then any sort of accomplishments to put on your profile as well. So going into that next stage, so we've gone through how to build out your profile, right? And again, I'll take the last few minutes and go through my profile to show it to you as well. But getting into beyond you built your brand out, now how do you start networking? How do you start job searching? How do you build your network with those right people that will make sense in the long haul? So first, you could start by targeting the alumni tool. So this is something that I would recommend, kind of post-college, or potentially if you are going into college or college that you're targeting, things like that. This is what can be helpful. Is basically finding people that are alumni to the school that you went to. If you put your high school on there, you might be able to still connect with alumni from your high school as well. You just probably won't have as many people, obviously, but essentially there is an alumni tool, like I said, that showcases where people work, where they live, and that way too, it can help because it's always a great conversation starter. I went to University of Iowa. If somebody came to me and said like, hey, I just graduated from Iowa, would love to chat with you about your career path. to be honest, I'm more likely to respond back to them. It's something in common. It's something that they've, looked at my profile. They realized that we went to the same school. It's something that can help. Again, at the high school level, I still encourage you to kind of take a look at this. Again, it's something that might be good for future, but also you could potentially use at the high school level. And going through building out your network as well, a couple of data points that I think are impressive. So 85% of jobs get filled through employee referrals. And the top way that companies recruit is through employees referring people they know. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you are carefully building out your network in the industries that you're interested in with people that, could potentially help you within your career along the way, or that you could help them, kind of that give and take from that perspective. And so how do you go about doing that? So again, first and foremost, connect with people that you know, friends, family, classmates, mentors, teachers, professors. Everyone on this call, if you know one another and have been working with one another over the past few weeks or month or so, connect with each other. I think that's a great place to start. Start building your profile that way. Find professors. Again, depending on the level of who you're connecting with, if you're connecting with one another, a simple connection request is totally appropriate. When you start connecting with people that might be, again, a little bit higher level than you, professors, et cetera, send a message with it. As you can see from this example, I very much enjoyed your class. It's inspired me to major in economics. May I add you to my network? It'd be very casual, but again, it could be something as, great, I enjoyed listening to you speak. Maybe you've gone to some sort of, somewhere where somebody has spoken, or maybe through some of these career classes that you've taken, that you've had different speakers that have come through. Connect with them on LinkedIn, put a message and say, loved the content you presented, would love to connect. Again, it can be somewhat casual. And again, tapping your connections and alumni for help. So again, for future, as you start networking for certain positions, it's always great to tap somebody that might be of help to you. And again, putting forth that messages. What we recommend is not blindly connecting. And by blindly connecting, I mean just sending out a connection request with no information. You might find that you're not going to get as strong of results. I wanted to show this to you, because I know that you might be in a stage in your career of like, what do I want to do and how can I figure out what I want to do? And so LinkedIn can be a great resource to learn what's out there by browsing job descriptions. So there's so much information out on LinkedIn. Obviously, I showcased all of the, stats of how much information is out there. But it's great to take a look at some of these jobs. Put in some different keywords of things that are interest to you, and therefore you can then see the different job market and what's out there. Not saying that you would apply to something right now, and it might not be something that's, obviously would align with going to school as well. You may not have enough experience, but again, kind of getting a better sense of the types of companies that you're interested in, the types of jobs you're looking for, the type of work you're looking to put your focus into for potential, courses along the way, internships along the way, summer courses, things like that. This is a great way to really get a better understanding of what you want to do with your career. And then also setting up job alerts to stay in the know. So this can be something that you can do for internships as well. So basically you just search the job and you can set up an alert. So you can search the type of job you're looking for and set up an alert. And then at that point, you are able to get jobs served up to you and then apply through there. A lot of jobs are set up to apply directly on LinkedIn, which is also kind of goes back to the initial point of this, of how important it is to build your profile. I am going to bring up my profile at this point, and while I'm doing that, if there's any questions, I can answer those while we go through that as well.
Yeah, excellent. So we had an interesting question about endorsements and if that is technically a recommendation or a reference. And I know that there are those are two different things, recommendations and endorsements. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between the two?
Yeah, absolutely. So a recommendation is truly going to be like some statements made that recommend you. It can be for a specific job, but it's more so kind of recommend you as a person. So I'll show you an example of what I'm referring to on my profile. Okay, so you can see my profile here. If I scroll to the bottom, and this is the format of like an editing format, so you can see exactly the details around that. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom here, what you can see here are endorsements are truly the endorsements of skills that you have. So basically this is me saying I have an account management skill, and then Sydney, as well as 7 other connections, have endorsed me for that skill. They've said like, yes, she does have that skill. I could have a skill here with 0 endorsements, and that's completely fine as well. Just because somebody doesn't endorse me for it, it doesn't mean I don't have it. You also have the ability to take a skill quiz. So many of our skills come with the ability to take a quiz, which in turn showcases, it kind of proves that you do have that skill, especially for some like technical skills, you have the ability to do that. A recommendation, as you'll notice is in the next section, is basically like a recommendation for just me as a person, work that I've done. So usually recommendations, we recommend either former colleagues, former direct reports, former managers, current mentors, anything like that. So for example, I used to actually work on a team with Kenzie as well as manage her. And so she put forth just a recommendation, again, some information about my strengths, things that we, worked well together. Again, it can be helpful to see somebody's a little bit about working with me, and then think of it as a, when you have to put in references, a recommendation is similar to that as well. So for example, I used to work with Aditi. I put through a recommendation for her, especially because she was job searching at the time. So I had used to work with her. I put together a recommendation. Again, that could be on her profile now and can help when people might be interviewing her to take a look at that and say like, okay, great, she comes recommended.
Allison, so someone had asked, Anoma has asked about the views and see if you could see who viewed your profile, which is a great question. And also about being able to, or wanting to connect with someone you possibly look up to, but their messages are locked, how to approach a situation like that.
So that's a great question. If their messages are locked, if you're able to, so it depends on privacy settings. And some people's privacy settings are pretty locked down and it's hard to connect with them. So if you know their email, a lot of times you can still message them because it asks you for their email in order to message them. Or if you're able to connect with them, so you might not be able to message them, but maybe you're still able to connect with them. You can connect with them and then you put in a message with the connection request. So rather than just messaging them, again, you can put in that. If they're fully, truly locked down, unfortunately, and not accepting requests or messages or anything like that, unfortunately, there isn't really a strong workaround for that. My recommendation would just be if you know them like at a different level beyond just on the platform, to reach out to them and say like, hey, would you connect with me on LinkedIn? Yeah. In terms of who views your profile and who, can they see if you view their profile? Yes, depending on settings. So if you go into so you've got your profile here and you notice like your face is up here where it says me. And if you go to settings and privacy, so if I click on settings and privacy, you can manage who sees. So if you go to visibility, this is where you're going to see all of this. So when you do set up your profile, if you haven't already, or if you already have your profile set up, I recommend going into these privacy settings and make sure they are exactly how you want them. So privacy settings in terms of visibility, here you can see its profile viewing options. So mine right now is in private mode and it shows exactly how when I view someone, what it looks like. So as you can see here, the way I view people, it looks at if they're able to see who's viewed your profile when they click on that, it just says anonymous LinkedIn member. So they have no idea who's viewed their profile. Now, keep in mind, if you put it on anonymous, then you cannot see who's viewed your profile either. So it's kind of like that give and take. If you're going to do it anonymously, then you're not going to be able to see anyone that can view you. So keep that in mind as well.
Excellent.
Any other questions?
There was one that came in earlier that thank you to the individual who also helped address this as well, but that first, second, third indication next to someone's name, what does that mean?
Yep. So based off of, so you can see here at the people also viewed. So I'll use this as an example. So a first degree connection is somebody that you are directly connected with. So Chris is actually my manager and I'm directly connected with her. We're connected on LinkedIn, so we're first degree connections. second degree connections. So if you see a second, that means they're second degree connections. They are connected to one of my connections. So second degree is that second degree, you know, someone that I'm connected with, they are all connected with. Third degree connection is someone that's connected to my second degree connection, and so on and so forth that way.
And we had one more question come in about skills. And can that be technology that you excel at and that you have strong experience with?
Absolutely. So you'll notice here at the bottom, I'll go back to the skills where you can add a new skill. So if you click on we see all the skills here, you can click on the edit icon, the little pen here, and this is where you can review all of your skills that you have. They can be technical skills. So again, we've got I don't have a list of them because there's just too many, but you can see here like tools and technologies, interpersonal, they're broken down that way, other skills. So there's kind of that soft skills and then the tech skills there. And then you'll notice each of them has a pin. So I've pinned those 3, but I could always change it. So if I wanted to, you know, put recruiting there as well instead, I'd have to remove one of them. So you can remove the top and then I can repin this. But this is again how I mentioned how you can choose the top 3 to show on your kind of homepage of your profile. The rest of them do show up in your profile or in searches, but again, this is just more so of just that snapshot of what you do there. In terms of, and real quick, in terms of licenses and certifications, I was going to see if this might be advanced placement. Okay, Jacob, you know, I'm going to get back to you on the AP portion on where they could potentially put it in beyond the summary. I was going to see if maybe it could be in the certification section, but it's not. So I'll get back to you on that, just as not to, you know, waste additional time.
You got it. Yeah, this is great. This is great.
As like a quick,
yeah, go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to do as a quick overview. So just to kind of highlight again what we discussed. So when you you create the profile, and if you haven't already, basically you go to linkedin.com and you just start creating a profile. It's as simple as that. And then it kind of walks you through each section. As you want to edit it, you just click on you click on the little edit icon and you can add additional details here. You can also add your on the mobile app, you can add your name pronunciation as well, a recording of it, which can be extremely helpful as well. And again, you can decide what you want added, what you want shown, et cetera, and so forth. You can add your email. I mean, you really get the option to kind of ensure it's exactly how you want it to look. I know that when you mentioned how much is too much. And so what I wanted to just highlight here is just my profile here, again, keeping in mind, I was trying to view it as a user session. Okay, so as somebody, I've been in the I graduated college in 2004. So you can do the math on how long I've been in the workforce here. And so if you notice how much information I have here, again, I've got my summary, again, it's my elevator pitch. I've ensured that I've got my headline here. I've got some images here. And then as you scroll down, you can see the activity that I've done. Activity is really just like everything that you're commenting on. And then my experience. I showcase, again, some brief details about what I've done. It's not like a huge, some of this is just more details about the company in and of itself. But it shows exactly what I've done in the past, education, some certifications that I have, skills, accomplishments, and then interests. So again, you can join different groups. You can search and join groups. So I think it's something that if you are searching for a specific interest, you can always search that and then join the groups. And then that's where it shows up here, or it shows also for the people that you're following. So again, it's a great way to really show who you are and what you can do. I know that we're at time. I think that it's a topic that honestly we could just talk for hours about. So I'll be conscious of everyone's time and respectful of that. But I would love to answer any questions that come forth moving forward, and happy to connect with anybody, after the presentation as well.
Allison, that is amazing. I mean, we are conscious of your time as well. I'm super thankful. I mean, every student here knows this. I've been so excited about this conversation. I've been pumping it up in Discord with my annoying announcement messages, tagging everyone. I've just selfishly been so excited for it as well. And I learned today, I actually didn't know the part about the skills and how you can customize what shows up and what doesn't. So I actually took a lot away from this discussion as well. And I'm just super thankful for your time. I mean, LinkedIn is, like you said, we could talk about it forever, and that will be ongoing in our conversations at Fiveable. It's just been really amazing to have you here, and we're super grateful for you being here. I just will say, last but not least, to all the students, I will paste in one more time. I'd love to send Allison some feedback. So please use that link. I'll do it one more time in case it gets lost in the chat. Please take 20 to 30 seconds and share some feedback with Allison. I'd love to pass that along to her after this call. But this has been amazing. Allison, thank you so, so much. And you're a fellow Chicagoan, so go Chicago.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Again, I appreciate everyone's time. What I will do is follow up with the, I'll follow up with the deck so that you can have access to that if anyone wants to go back and take a look at that. Again, as I mentioned to everyone, feel free to connect with me. Feel free to, you know, send me a message or anything like that if you have additional questions that didn't get answered. Jacob, if you go through and get additional questions that weren't answered, feel free to send those over to me, and I will get back to you next week with some answers on those as well to provide additional details.
That's amazing. Allison, thank you so, so much. Tell
Thank
Trixie
you.
thank you, and we'll talk very soon.
Absolutely. All right, sounds good. Thank you all. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Allison. Bye.